Well, we are following breaking news in the case of a 21-year-old Massachusetts Air National Guardsman accused of leaking highly classified documents about Ukraine and U.S. allies. The judge has agreed to delay the detention hearing that was set for today. Jack Teixeira is being charged under the Espionage Act. CBS News senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge is following the story for us from Washington. Catherine, good morning. What's going on?
Good morning, Anne Marie. Government investigators are probing the potential damage to sources and methods like human spies and wiretaps that can go dark after a major leak. These damage assessments can take months, sometimes even years.
As 21-year-old Air National Guardsman Jack Teixeira was arrested last week by heavily armed FBI agents, investigators fanned out across the U.S. intelligence agencies to probe the leak and the damage.
Why did this individual have access to this classified information?
Tuesday, the Air Force Secretary told Congress a complete review of policies is underway.
We're all disturbed about it, and we're working very, very hard to get to the bottom of it.
The breadth of the information that's been leaked is problematic.
As director of the U.S. government's Counterintelligence and Security Center, Bill Evanina was deeply involved in major leak cases and examining the damage.
It's going to take a lot of agencies and a lot of effort to put them together and say which one poses the largest risk for the intelligence community or Department of Defense with respect to our adversaries.
They're going line by line through these documents as part of the damage assessment.
Line by line, and we let the agency who provided that information look at it with their experts to be able to say what was in there and where do we get it from.
Evanina said damage assessments can take years, citing the 2013 leak of over 1 million surveillance records by Edward Snowden, a government contractor.
The damage assessment was comprehensive, and it's still ongoing.
On Capitol Hill, there is bipartisan criticism of the recent Defense Department security failures.
The entire national security community is going to have to do a real deep dive to make sure that it's not as easy as it was for this guy to take these documents.
I think we've got to get to the bottom of how is our classified information being protected and who's got access to it.
All questions lawmakers may ask in their briefings later today. The Air National Guard intelligence unit in Massachusetts, where Teixeira worked, has had its mission suspended, and the Pentagon says the precise number of leaked records is still not known. Vlad, Anne-Marie?
All right, so Catherine, do we know why there's a delay in the hearing?
Well, what happened in the last hour or so, Anne-Marie, is that the defendant, Jack Teixeira, asked the court for a 2-week extension to consider the government's request for continued detention as he approaches this pretrial phase, and the judge has just agreed to that 2-week extension. It's not unusual in a complex case like this that both parties want more time, in the case of the Justice Department, to build and consolidate their arguments for pretrial detention, and for Teixeira and his public defenders to review the evidence against him.
So I know the military is looking into the unit where Teixeira was stationed, where he was working. Have there been any consequences for that military unit?
I think the biggest consequence so far, Anne-Marie, is that this Air National Guard intelligence wing in Massachusetts has had its mission suspended, and that is no small thing given the importance of their work, especially when it comes to processing and gathering aerial intelligence. What's not clear to us yet is whether, in fact, there may be disciplinary action for Teixeira's supervisors, because it's clear from our reporting and the testimony on Capitol Hill that there were security procedures in place, but they clearly failed in this case.
Okay, so what about the real-world impact of this leak, though?
Based on the records that we reviewed here at CBS News, many of them contain intelligence from multiple agencies. So you can have the CIA, the NSA, the DIA, which is the Defense Intelligence Agency, as well as FISA, which is wiretap information, all brought together in a single document. So they have to decide what was there and whether it was compromised. In the case of FISA or these wiretaps, you also have a second challenge, which is it may go dark, may just go silent, and you've lost that stream of intelligence, or your adversary is onto the fact that you're listening and they start feeding bad information to you, and you have to discern whether they're trying to play you in this big spy game world.
Okay, so the military is trying to figure this out. How did this happen? What are the implications? Both the Senate and the House are going to be receiving classified briefings on this leak as well. What do we know about that? And what sort of what actions could Congress take?
Well, there could be space for legislative action, but based on our reporting so far, it does appear that Teixeira took advantage of his position as a technician and having these administrative privileges, and that may have allowed him to carve out a workaround in which he was able to print these records. There's safeguards in place that really are designed to flag activity like that, and it didn't happen. I'm not sure that a legislative fix is really necessary, but they may mandate legislation that calls for an accounting from the Defense Department as to whether there's uniformity across the department, not only sort of at that national level, but also at the Air Guard level as well.
Catherine, thank you very much.
You're welcome.